can see Will Hakim, the Oxford coach, on the right, his hand aloft, and also Ian Middleton returning as the blue boat cocks for the light blues, his right arm aloft. This very tense, anxious moment, surely, Wayne.
Always very tense. The longer you spend on the stake boats, the more nervous you get, and you just cannot wait for that flag to go down. And the other thing that's interesting, the longer they wait, the greater the chances of a mistake off the start.
Still we wait for Oxford. This tide rushing. The wind also will be a factor. Cambridge are calm and ready. Oxford are now ready.
Attention! Go!
And we're underway, the 161st men's boat race. And Oxford strike first, with the first advantage on this straight part of the course, with the first bend benefiting the crew on the northern bank, the Middlesex bank. Cambridge have the Surrey bank, and they know that their chance, if they stay in touch, they're still side by side, that will come their way. A strong start. Both crews off comfortably and smoothly and strongly. Cambridge know that Oxford have the great endurance, but they too know they're improving form through the fixtures. They have confidence that if they've held Oxford through the first stages of the race, their greater weight and strength will come through, particularly as we just heard from Sean Bowden, the Oxford coach, in this headwind, which will test both crews. Oxford, a quarter of a length up so far.
Yeah, it was a messy start from Cambridge. That first stroke went deep down on bow side. That wasn't right. Oxford absolutely crushing it. These first few strokes, you could see the damage they were doing to the water. They were moving that boat fast, settling into a nice strong rhythm. Oxford have the advantage, but Cambridge, I'm not going to let them go. This is good rowing from both crews.
Yeah, Cambridge have their work cut out. That first 10 strokes were not kind to them, and they now need to expend that extra bit of energy just to get back on terms.
Both these crews searching for the fastest water in the middle of this river. Not always necessarily the central role, but this is where the umpire will be making sure that both crews do not come close, and particular mindful will be the Cambridge crew after that incident last year as they were coming up past Harrods, where Luke Juckett was almost thrown out of the boat. There's a good distance between them, and the umpire will ensure that if Oxford are until approaching on the line of station of Cambridge, or even vice versa, he will intervene. But this is good response by Cambridge. They've come back, having been a quarter of a length down. Now it's just pretty much a canvas between these two crews. Nothing like the dominance that Oxford were able to exert in the women's boat race just an hour ago. Coming up past the Fulham football ground, which is where the first bend really starts to play towards the crew on the northern side, the Middlesex station.
Yeah, Cambridge, the heavier crew, might like this headwind. They are a significantly heavier crew. That usually benefits the heavier crew, and you can see them just making some impact now.
Yeah, you can see the water stretching out ahead of them. This is where the lactic acid is going to start to really hurt. They're well inside their race rhythms, but the knowledge that the crews are side by side here. Oxford carrying just a bit of advantage into this middle to the Surrey bend. They're going to need to capitalise on this if they're going to really sort of make an impact and work around the bends and through Hammersmith to stay in the lead.
You can see how Oxford have struck back with this advantage. They've put on a burst to take a lead of almost half a length now. They had the momentum. They've won 10 of the last 14 races. Sean Bowden, their coach, in his 21st year as a boat race coach, is going for his 13th win, which would be a new record, bettering Dan Topolsky's record of 12 in 15, as we heard in that feature by Matt Pinsent, who is ready now to tell us how he feels those conditions are starting to play out on the River Thames.
Well, the wind's coming across the river here, so actually it's as calm as any of the boats have had today. I definitely agree with the guys in the commentary box. Cambridge's first 10 strokes were pretty average. And Oxford have now got an interesting challenge. They're in the lead, they're looking comfortable, they're in their rhythm, but the next time they get a corner in their favour is probably 8, 10, even 11 minutes away. It's a long time. If they're going to win this boat race, they're going to have to settle in for a long, hard challenge in the next 8 or 10 minutes.
This is where Cambridge feel that they could make their strength and their race pace and their endurance and their resilience pay. Because as they come up now towards the Harrods Furniture, the former Harrods Furniture Depository on the left-hand side of your screen, the Surrey Bank, this is where their advantage of this bend will start to play, although the boats and the blades are significantly closer now. And you can hear the umpire, Boris Rankov, ordering them to just move apart. Closed a little have Cambridge as they now start to try to make the most of their advantage as the river turns west under Hammersmith Bridge towards Barnes Bridge, and then that final bend Matthew was talking about round towards Chiswick, when the advantage swings back towards the crew on the northern bank, the Middlesex station. Half a length in it at the moment.
Cambridge!
Oxford settled, Cambridge settled. And this is what the course so far, you can see that narrow blue line is the ideal racing line. And you can see how Cambridge are now about to feel the advantage of that bend in the river towards Hammersmith Bridge and the Surrey station.
Both coxes taking it very safe at the moment. We've got a good distance between the crews. We've got no risk of clashing at the moment. I'm sure this is going to please Jockett, but we've still got a long race ahead of us. They're going to have to start getting a bit edgy if they really want to make an impact on the crews beside them. They've got to start taking risks, and I think as this Surrey bend runs out, we're going to see Oxford just start to capitalise on their experience and the results they've had over these last few weeks. And Cambridge are just going to have to keep working, which they are doing very well at the moment.
Oxford was strong favourites with the bookmakers. Yes, it's a two-horse race, not as strong as the women's crew were in their particular race, the Dark Blues of Oxford. But Cambridge are in touch, and this is where they feel they can strike back. Ian Middleton, blue last year in the coxing seat, a good race reader, much more assertive, he says, much more assured and confident, and this is where he's going to have to prove that in the arena for which he's been training so diligently for the last 9 months. Because this is where his crew need him to find that fast water, to ensure that they keep their line, they hold their station, and they drive Oxford away necessarily from the fastest water.
You can hear the umpire working there to keep them apart, to make sure we don't have a repeat of last year with that clash. But it's getting interesting here. Cambridge now a little bit behind Oxford. They now have 4 or 5 minutes where they have to get ahead and break clear. Otherwise, Oxford will have the advantage of the final bend of the course. So as each minute passes here, increasingly desperate for Cambridge.
This is where they have to make their move. So long as Oxford hold this advantage for half a length, Cambridge, their chances will diminish, because as the river turns, favouring the Surrey station, then towards the final 1.25 miles or so of this 4.25 mile course, this will favour the course and the crew on the northern bank. The water particularly choppy here, the tide moving fast, and this is where Cambridge are still unable seemingly to make their move. They're in touch, but they're not crucially at the moment in the lead as they have the advantage.
We've just heard from the coxes. Cambridge are pushing hard now. They've just had to increase their rate by 2. That was the command. They are really fighting hard, and as you can see, it is getting rough out there. This is going to hit the crews. That Cambridge reliance on that good rhythm, that technical sort of superiority is everything they've got, and it's at the moment it's just watching Oxford walk away.
They may have had the advantage of the Surrey station, but Oxford have kicked on, and now they're clear. And for Cambridge, this is trouble. Oxford are ahead, almost a length ahead, And they are now, Cambridge, chasing Oxford in their wake, in their wash, in their puddles.
Oxford put in a very big push there, put the pedal down, and they took half a length very quickly. And at the same time, Cambridge were struggling in the rough water that we saw there. That was the decisive moment of this race.
This looks to be a decisive move by Oxford. Matt Pinsent, you would surely agree.
Absolutely, it was decisive from Oxford and also into the teeth of the wind. It's that the course turned into the headwind, and just when you thought the heavier crew Cambridge would manage into the headwind with momentum, Oxford really dug in and moved ahead and smoothly ahead, and it gives them a chance to cross over. So it's really difficult now for Cambridge, because they'll be rowing along not only into the wind, not only over the top of the waves, but they're also in the wash and the puddles and the disturbance that the Oxford boat are sending down on top of them. It's a really difficult, challenging psychological position for the Cambridge crew at the moment.
Konstantin Louloudis is there, a world champion for Great Britain, president for 2015 of the Oxford University Boat Club, and now stroking his crew well clear of their opposition, and he now has a 4th successive boat race victory in his grasp. Sam O'Connor, the New Zealander, just behind him in 7. Michael DeSanto from America. Jamie Cook, under 23 Great Britain international. James O'Connor is in the 2 seat with Tom Schwartz, the American, in 4. James O'Connor was ill earlier in the week and missed 3 days of training on Monday, Tuesday and Wednesday, but here he is now, part of this crew, which has the advantage. 2 lengths clear now. Henry Goodyear in 3. He used to row actually at Imperial College with the Cambridge coach Steve Trapmore. But this is Oxford dominating.
This is a Sean Bowden hallmark. He trains his crews to really punish that middle section of the race. It's often played out this way. Cambridge get off to a really great start. You know, they set up a fantastic rhythm. It happened in my year, it's happened in successive years. They've always been very challenging, and you know, right through Hammersmith, you see them right in it. But then it's this section of the race when you get a bit of a headwind, usually the water roughs up. That Oxford, just determination, that training. You've got the guy stroking that boat. He's one of the physiologically strongest guys in this country at the moment, playing to his strengths. He's leading that crew to make sure that they are the fastest boat when it really counts. And at the moment, that's counting right now.
He was well aware, Sean Bowden, that they didn't have the strength nor the weight, but above all, he was keen to emphasize the endurance. Their training has been focused particularly on improving their endurance, and now it's paying dividends.
Good boys. That's right where you want to be. Yep. Squeezing it on. Squeezing it on. Good boys. Another gust of headwind. It's going to go flat around the bandstand. You're at the crossing. It's 6 minutes to finish in these conditions. Yep. Keep it going.
That's Will Hakim, the Oxford coach, running with the tide. That's what his coach Sean Bowden wanted him to do. He's figured out how little to use the rudder. The bends are so long, but also he's enormously aided by Stan Louloudis, this rowing phenomenon in front of him, and the rest of the crew who have done their business, risen to the challenge which was posed by the heavier crew, a heavier crew by more than 5 kilograms, and they are forging clear. Past Chiswick Steps, up towards the 3-mile marker with the Duke's Meadows just on their right-hand side, and all the advantage that Cambridge were hoping to maximise from the Surrey bank is diminishing with each stroke. And also with each stroke, the advantage will increase for Oxford. Not only are they leading, but they can choose the water, and they are now on their own. This is an exhibition by Sean Bowden's crew, his latest crew. For 2 years, he was a Cambridge winner, but this is looking as if it's going to be 11 wins as an Oxford coach, and a winning Oxford coach.
Least 1 minute to the bridge.
Henry Ostock,
1 minute section.
the American, a blue last year, a blue this year.
The bandstand home. One last time. Matt Will.
Ian Middleton urging them on in the cox seat.
Legs flow.
Matt Jackson in 6.
Least.
There's Luke Juckett.
Least.
Jesper Holst, hoping for a place possibly in the Netherlands squad for the Rio Olympics next year. But it's looking forlorn in terms of being a boat race winner in 2015. Matt Pinsent, this is turning into a parade for Oxford.
And you've got to feel a little bit at the moment for the Cambridge coxswain Ian Middleton. It'll be so obvious to the 8 men in front of him that they're not going to win this race. He can't be honest. He can't say, right, guys, we've lost. So how is he going to keep his guys going? How is he going to keep them motivated? There's an element of fibbing going on to try and keep their psyche together. But with 3.5 minutes, they'll know, because the river, the puddles that they were rowing in 2, 3, 4 minutes ago, is now beginning to go suspiciously calm as Oxford get further and further ahead. It's another huge test for Cambridge. How much pride have they got in their performance for the remaining 2-3 minutes of this race?
And worse for Cambridge is that Oxford can see them. They know exactly where they are. They had them not even at arm's length, a long, long way away. And they also know that as much as Cambridge are behind them, the finish is approaching quicker and nearer with every stroke.
The brutal thing about this race, two-horse race, is that Oxford crew are going to prove all the training they've been doing. They're not going to give a quarter to the Cambridge guys, as much as they do respect them. It is about punishing themselves to the very last stroke, and they're going to make sure they open as much water as they can.
Yeah, after all that training, you don't give any quarter. You sprint to the finish. You've already got the win on the board. Now the question is, how big is the margin? And you want a big margin if you can get it.
It was big last year, 11 lengths, but then there was a problem because of that clashing of oars before Hammersmith. This has been a clean race. It's been a fair race, but Oxford have just opened a huge advantage. They've gone through the gears, and now they're heading towards that line. And Stan Laludis is quite comfortable, heading into his final year in Classic Student. Great Britain rowing still to come. 2015 could indeed be a memorable year for the Oxford president.
Yeah. Move it through there, guys. Move it through there.
Still the Cox. Will Hakim urges them on. A Harvard graduate heading towards university in America, back again to do a PhD in Chinese literature. This race is easily comprehensible, though, for all those watching on either bank and on television. The dark blues of Oxford have dominated, and they are heading towards another victory, a hat-trick of wins. Just like the women's boat race, so the male counterparts on the historic day are doubling up. ISIS 2, the men's reserve crew, also took victory. This has been a dark blue, clean sweep. And still there's no let-up.
Absolutely not. You can see the aggression on the Cox's face. I mean, he is not going to make sure these guys stop and until the whistle goes.
Across the line go Oxford, and they have won the 161st University Boat Race. Stan Laludis makes history. One of those rare breeds to have won 4 boat races. Each one he's competed, he has come through as the victor. Cambridge are through, but for them there is only pain, agony, and what might have been.